Before the break, we asked which of these countries has a national anthem with no words, and the answer is Spain. What do the football teams sing?
Thank goodness they get out of it. They must
They don't
love
have
it.
to sing, they must love
It's
it.
the benefit of playing for Spain.
Welcome. If you just joined us, we're live on 5. Cherry and Larry are with me. And also joining us in the studio is consumer expert, Mr. Harry Kind. Now, if you have any questions or concerns following yesterday's budget, do give us a call. Harry is going to try and help. But to get the ball rolling, Cherry, I know that you have been struggling with one bit of the budget.
Can we get an explanation for a really simple one about how the frozen threshold means that we're going to lose out on money?
Right.
Say it nice and
low, easy ball
Yes.
for you there, Harry. The tax thresholds, they've been frozen. Why is that bad news?
When I hear frozen, I think, great, it's not going to go up. That's good.
No more costs.
It's good for me, but it's not good.
Well, so imagine if you're in like the 90s and you were going...
I can imagine that.
Casting mine back to the 90s and say that you're going up to the higher rate of income tax. Probably the income that you would have to get to be in the higher rate would be quite low. It would be maybe like 30 grand or something like that. And then because of inflation, we had to raise that threshold. And normally that would go up with inflation each year. Back in, I think it was 2021, the rates were frozen by the Tories, basically saying, look, we're going to keep them where they are at the moment, which is about £50,000 before you go to higher rate. The Chancellor has said instead of increasing them in 2028, they will be fixed again up until 2023, which just means that more, 2031 rather, it just means that more people will be considered the rich people paying the rich people rate of tax.
So if you earn more money, you're going to get into that tax band.
So if you earn 49 grand, you have done, and then you get a slight pay rise, you will go into higher rate tax. You will pay more tax.
So actually, it's not worth getting that pay rise.
Well,
exactly.
The thing you always need to clarify with tax rates is that you go from your first £1 in that higher rate is charged at a 40p tax. The rest of your money is still the same as it was before, that 20p. So it's all on that marginal extra pound.
So it depends on how much your pay increase is. It might be worth it, but it might actually not.
I mean, one had hoped that the personal allowance, which is the 12 grand or so that you're allowed to earn without paying any tax, that's the most important one that should rise with inflation, because that affects everybody who works, and they're not going to keep that where it is, are they, until 2031?
So that's staying where it is as well.
So that's essentially a tax. They're taxing us more, essentially.
Right. Okay, let's go to Marilyn, who's in South Yorkshire. Marilyn, welcome to the show. What would you like to ask Harry?
Hi, nice to speak to you, by the way. I'm a 78-year-old widow with no private pension. I get slightly more than the tax allowance, so I pay tax on the balance. What I don't understand is, why do people who are on benefits don't pay any tax over the tax? Do they not have a tax threshold? I just don't get it. I've worked from 15 to 69, and there's no jam on the cake, basically.
Okay.
And I feel resentful.
Okay. Marilyn, thank you for your question. Let's just break that down in two. First up, the issue of state pensions, we've already mentioned, they're going to go up.
Yes.
And of course, they're going to creep up above what we just spoke about, that minimum base rate of £12,500. It is £12,500.
Yes.
So are state pensioners now going to be paying income tax on the basic rate of pension?
Yes, so, and a lot of pensioners are already due. The kind of one of the biggest part of the budget, which just hasn't been touched, is our pensions, about the state pension, which has been protected with that triple lock, and that's something that basically has been incredibly beneficial to a lot of pensioners, which has meant that the pension has gone up higher than inflation, higher than wages, and higher than 2.5%. So it's a big pot of money which hasn't been touched, but if we look at the other half of that question, which is people on benefits who will be, benefiting from this budget, particularly people who have more than 2 children. Of those people, they will be on average getting a boost of something like £5,000, 500 million families taken out of poverty, which is quite an impressive figure for, a kind of a Labour Party. 3 out of 5 of those families actually are in work. So they are paying tax on income, and they're also paying tax, in VAT and other taxes. So,
but they won't pay tax on the extra money they get from the government in child benefit. That's not taxable, no?
The extra money will be coming in through universal credit.
But that's not taxable.
So it would basically the rate at which your money would be taxed on that extra income you're earning.
But hang on, the question Marilyn's asking, and I think it's a really good question, is how come if she earns over a minimum in her pension, she gets taxed on every penny of that because her personal allowance is gone, and yet if you're on benefits and you now get extra money from the government in extra child benefit, you don't pay any tax on that.
So I'm not sure necessarily we're saying about the personal allowance being gone, but it would be the complexity when it gets to the pension just gets more and more so.
But the basic question of if getting that extra money on the child benefit pushes you way over into a different tax band, will you be taxed on it, or does it not count towards your tax?
Quite possibly that you could be taxed on that. Yes, it's going to vary with families, but ultimately, everyone is paying tax still. It's not that there are.
But if you're on benefits, you're not paying tax. Not working benefits, you're not paying any tax on that.
I want to move on. Marilyn, thank you for kicking us off. Chris is in Hampshire. Chris, what's your question?
Good afternoon, Alexis and team, and you're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question on the tax for electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. Yes, I just wondered how they're going to bill you fairly and monitor the mileage that you do, because is it going to be like a smart system, or is the driver expected to notify the authorities how many miles you do per year? Or
Chris, thank you for that question. I've read some things on this. What have you heard, Harry? You go first.
Yeah, so I've heard that it's still up for consultation and discussion, but chances are there will be essentially a self-reporting where you will say my kind of mileage estimation for the year. But every time you get an MOT, your mileage is recorded. The government would have access to that, and so you can audit that, and you can either get some money back or pay extra money on that tax. So it's something we already basically track anyway.
Right. So this is 3p per mile, 1.5 pence if you're talking about a hybrid vehicle. So self-declaring what you think you're going to drive, and then when your MOT happens, you either get money back or have to spend more money if you've driven more. Here's my question.
Yeah.
If you've taken your car to drive into Europe and put in an extra 500-600 miles, are you going to be paying taxes for driving outside the country?
You are, and basically the government has said, well, boo-hoo, it's not really worth the amount of work it would take to remove that tax. Especially consider, you could have somebody who at the moment is paying their, annual road tax, who spends half the time with their car in another country. That seems a little bit unfair that they're doing half of their miles already in another country. Equally, when it comes to petrol, if you buy your petrol in the UK, but then you drive that car in France and then you come back and refuel, already you have people who are losing out by that. But it's such a small group of people that I think there is a certain amount of who cares.
How much? You can do the maths, not me. Let's say you drive 20,000 miles in a year.
How dare you? I can do maths.
No,
I can't really. I just didn't want to feel left out.
How much is that going to cost you?
Not many people are doing 20,000. The average it's supposed to be about £300. It's going to cost.
Yeah. That's on top of your tax.
On top of your tax.
And you'll pay that once a year?
You'll pay that once a year.
I did think it was disingenuous of the Chancellor yesterday, who said, the heavy cars. She gave the impression when she spoke that the money raised is going to go into transport spending, which, as you have said on this show many times before, it is not ring-fenced money.
No.
The money that drivers pay in vehicle excise duty is not money that is then put back into the roads. It goes into the Treasury. They could do what they like with it.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, this isn't about introducing a tax for EVs. This is about the future of road taxing. We will all be paying per mile soon because we will all be driving EVs, and this is the only way to really introduce that tax in a way that doesn't get people too angry.
I went to hire a car last week. When I got to the office, they said, "And you will be driving an electric car." I said, "No, I won't." They said, "Well, that's the only." I said, "No." There was a big poster on the wall that said, "You are our first priority." I said, "Apparently not." No, you can imagine I caused a huge scene and refused to take the car because I don't know how to drive an electric car. But also, I wasn't given the choice. I didn't choose an electric car. And I will not have it imposed on me. I'll die on that hill.
Okay, well, it's your hill to die on. You're well welcome to it.
They were sort of silent behind the desk.
I'm not surprised, to be honest. Chris, thank you. I hope that answers your question. Peter's in Buckinghamshire. Peter, welcome to the show. What's your question?
Good afternoon, panel.
Hi.
I just want the panel to consider how we pay for the NHS, our schools that are crumbling, the roads, all the public services. And I was a foreign officer for nearly 30 years, and now I'm a consultant, so I'm still paying plenty of tax, and I've got a little pension. How are we going to pay for all this if we don't contribute? I think it was a fair budget. We need to contribute to have this great country we live in.
Do you think that perhaps, I gather you don't have a specific question about the budget, but do you think that perhaps there isn't an honest conversation in the country, and it hasn't been, and I'm not saying just this government, but for previous governments as well, of how tax works?
How we pay for it, yeah. How we pay for it.
Yeah.
I think there are 2 points I'd make, Peter. First, we know that the productivity within the public services has gone down and not come back up after the pandemic, quite the reverse. So the question would also be asked about whether our money is being spent effectively in providing public services. And number two, we've got the cost of housing asylum seekers, which is just huge. There are ways that other money could be used to support our public services, which I think we all want good public services. So the question is the government raising the money from the right people, and is it spending it effectively?
Well, I really welcome what Peter's saying, because so often consumer journalists come out after a budget and say, what does it mean for you? And it's about your money going in and going out. Actually, what does it mean for you if you're spending 12 hours waiting in A&E, or your kids in a school which is falling apart? That is stuff which is part of the budget, which we have to take into account. And that doesn't come into the spreadsheet of our own budget and our own tax. So we should really consider not just, what we're paying and what we're receiving in benefits, but what we receive in the kind of society stuff. And actually, that is one of the things that we've not really talked about, is the extra spending. Apparently £18 million on playgrounds, £5 million on school libraries. It's some small amounts of money, but overall, there is a massive spend here on NHS, on military, on our schools.
Let's take a question. Peter, thank you for your question. Let's take a question from Facebook. This is Adrian, who got in touch and asked this. As a retired person, will I have less money to spend?
Good question. It's really going to depend. The Resolution Foundation did some example families to see, would they be better off or worse off. They had an example of a pensioner couple who have a private pension, who are in the top 40% of income. So they're not in the kind of poorest half of the country. They drive a petrol car. They'd be £65 better off on average. You would think actually that, those richer people wouldn't be better off. Actually, this suggests that they would be. That's probably coming off the back of the £150 reduction in electricity bills that we're going to see. It's going to be that freeze in fuel duty. Those things will actually benefit a lot of people who aren't impacted by, income tax freezes and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And of course, with the pension triple lock going up, I think it's 4.8%.
I'm not sure what the figure is.
But
I
think it's 4.8.
Yeah.
That means that some people will be getting a substantial amount of money extra. Combine it with the reduction of the electricity bills, etc.
And if you're over 65, the changes in the ISA will not apply to you, and you will be able to continue to save tax-free in a savings account. OK. John's in West Yorkshire. John, welcome to the show. What's your question?
The question is about the £150. Rachel Reeves said yesterday we're going to be better off on the power, she said. And what I want to know is that the unit price or is it the total price? Because this is what happens. If you go on a comparison site, you can get a cheaper unit price provided you pay a bigger standing charge. Now, the standing charge also then is added 20% onto the standing charge. So if she's going to get a VAT back somehow, I take it. So is that unit charge?
OK. Good question, John.
£150. Yeah.
Good question. Where is that 150 coming off from?
Early suggestions is it's mainly going to be on that unit charge. So it will be a few pence off your electricity. It's not much off your gas. And it's something that, I've been looking at for a long time, is that we have incredibly expensive electricity prices in the UK compared to our gas. It's over 4 times per unit. And so this is not only going to make people's bills cheaper, but it will also encourage people away from spending money on polluting gas, which we have to import from, either from the North Sea or from abroad, and shift people to greener electricity.
But this is the green levy they're going to reduce. So that's an entirely voluntary charge that the government have decided.
It's a political decision.
Yes. Yeah. So they could have got rid of the green levy completely, and that would have helped everybody, but they decided not to.
Well, some of this levy is, for example, funding energy efficiency improvements for poorer households. That's something which is an incredibly...
But we're also funding wind farms. We're giving them money when it's either too windy or not windy enough, or, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, we're either funding wind farms or Putin, and, you know, there'll be people...
Or we could have our own North Sea gas, of course, couldn't we? That would be cheaper.
Let's take another call from Chelsea in Greater Manchester. Chelsea, let's squeeze you in. What's your question?
My question is I have 2 children before 2017, but I have 4 children after 2017, and obviously I don't get any money for them. In April now, will I receive money for them, or is it for children after 26?
I should hope so. On the surface level assessment of that, yes, you would be someone who would really be benefiting from this change. And so, you know, keep an eye out on this as it develops. But yes, you are basically going to be one of the biggest kind of beneficiaries of this budget.
So Chelsea, look out for it's going to kick in April 2026.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, April 2026. Have a look out for that. Well, look, thank you to everybody for that. I mean, as you said, Harry, it's a difficult budget to unpick.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but in general, guilds fell, pound went up, so the markets are kind of okay with it?
Yeah, Rachel Reeves was really worried about another kind of mini-budget fiasco like with Liz Truss, and actually the markets have been fine, which is going to be good ultimately for our mortgages. We're not going to have like a sudden spike in interest rates. It's going to cost us money. The cost of borrowing should slowly ease down. So I think it's a kind of phew kind of moment rather than a celebration kind of moment.
Okay, well, phew. And if it means we don't have to talk about the budget, then yay! Thank you to Harry, thank you to Cherry and Larry, of course, and thank you for watching and for all your brilliant calls and your messages. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you all tomorrow.